Hi everybody, continuing on with our Chapter 30 exercises. We had just done exercises 131 on page 210. We're going to now move on to two exercises, maybe three exercises from exercise 132. This is page 210, chapter 30. Ha ti an lege chretor, akusometha tu. All right, lots to unpack in this sentence. So ha ti, note the gap. This is not haughty, the conjunction, which we would possibly expect from the word Lego. Here, this is the indefinite relative that we've gotten so used to saying, whatever. So what case is this? Well, we can't tell because it's neuter whether it's nominative or accusative, but it's going to be one of those. And whatever it's going to be, we're going to translate it as whatever. Whatever, and that's either the subject or the object, we don't know yet. And then on, so what's that doing? Well, we know that this is likely taking the place of A. So we are looking at one of these conditionals, a relative conditional or a conditional relative. And this is going to be the same as we had been seeing with A on. And that's going to say that, okay, we're going to expect a subjunctive in this protasis, and we're going to expect either a future, which will make it a future more vivid in the apodosis, or we're going to expect a present, which is just a present general condition. So we're definitely general or future more vivid. Let's keep on looking. So lege, subjunctive, that's exactly what we're expecting. We're now at the point that while this could be nominative, probably not a neuter thing is going to be doing choosing or reading, right? This is probably, we're going to get another nominative, or our first nominative, making this accusative, and that's indeed what we have. Rhetor is our subject. So whatever, and then here we have no article. Actually, I forgot the article. That's why it's weird. So whatever the orator, whatever the public speaker says, accusa metha autu. All right, so this is coming from akuo. This sigma here without a past indicative augment here tells us this is going to be the future, but then why ametha? Because akuo isn't deponent. So is this be heard? We will be heard by him, but if it were by him, we would need hupo. What's going on here? This is one of those situations where you just need to know your principal parts, because it's akuo in the present, but the future becomes akusomai. Sorry, that's a upsilon there. Akusomai. That is, it's future deponent. And remember that a lot of verbs do that in Greek. Akuo was one of the first that we encountered, but that's a number of chapters back now. So this is a future deponent verb. So what does deponent mean? Looks passive, obviously, but behaves actively. So whatever the orator says, we, first person plural, will, because it's future. So now, ding, 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 it's future more vivid condition. Whatever the orator says, we will listen. And then we need to supply a preposition here in English, to him. All right, so autu. Couple things to be said here. Why is it genitive? Well, another thing about akuo, if you akuo to things in the accusative. I hear speeches. But then we would say, I hear speeches from him, or I hear him speaking, out to, in the genitive. Akuo out to, I hear him. So akusametha, out to, means we will listen to him. So some might say, well, Al, why isn't this how to? Or perhaps how to, because that would be then what? The reflexive pronoun, and that would be reflecting back to the subject of the sentence, which in certain ways is rhetor, right? Well, not exactly. This protasis, this if clause, is really not, if you were going to remove something from the sentence, let's say you had to cut down a sentence to its barest bones. You wanted to get just the main verb. It's not going to be in this clause. This haughty starts this protasis, this if clause, although I mean it's really a who clause. It's a relative clause, but it's a conditional relative. The kernel, the absolute essence of the sentence is akousametha. That's our subject. Well, what's our subject? The implied hemes, us, we, in the nominative. We will hear him. So this could only be reflexive if it were referring back to the first person plural. It'd need to be or it'd be hemon out tone. We were listening to ourselves. That's the only way it could be reflexive. So even though we have a nominative here that's earlier in the sentence, just because it's closer to the beginning doesn't mean it's the subject of the main sentence. Akousametha is our main verb. We are our subject. So autu cannot be reflexive. We just use the standard third person pronoun, autos, auteato. All right, good. So whatever the order says, we will listen to him. Skeses hippon hopoion an boule. All right. This sentence is fun and takes us a little bit out of our comfort zone, which I'm happy about. Skeses. You have to remember your principal parts here because echo has both a kind of more standardly formed future, exo, where we've just really added the sigma to mark the future, and combined with the chi, we get exo. But then there's also skeso, and that's exactly what we have here. So you will have, and again, these are going to be conditionals. Ideally, you translate after you've already figured it out, but let's just go left to right. That's what the Greeks did. They were able to figure it out. We might have to erase our translation, but that's why we're writing in pencil or digital pencil. Very easy to erase. So you will have, and then hippon. Note that there's no article here, so we're going to just say a horse. It's indefinite, but it's not Tina hippon. It's not the indefinite participle, a certain horse. Now we're just saying a horse. It's very standard here. Hopoion. Now that's new. Well, somewhat new. We might have seen these before. These are an indefinite relative or indirect interrogative pronoun given on page 208 in the far right column. And we had seen poiautos, right? Already. Or poiutos. And that meant of such a sort. Or of, sorry, poi. Let me erase this and start over. Poiutos was of what sort? This was a question word. And then its closely related, toiutos, was of such a sort. So what we were talking here with these toi and poi is about quality. A certain quality of the kind. Of what sort? Of this sort. That's the sort of thing that we were talking about. Hopoios is a related word, and it's going to be of whatever kind. So we have hostis, which is whoever, and we would have hoposos, which would be of what size, however much. And then hopoion here in the accusative, is going to be really of what sort. So let's go back then. Erase all of this and continue on. So you will have a horse, and that's going to be kind of a stopping point. Of what sort? Or maybe these are indefinite, so whatever. And that's really strengthened by this on here. Of whatever sort, boule. All right. So what is this? Coming from boulomai, we know that's a deponent. So we got boulomai, boulosai. Sorry, the accent should be there, not on the omicron, but on the omicron epsilon diphthong. Boulotai. Sorry, that should be a lambda. There we go. Boulomai, boulosai, boulotai. All right, that's it. But this is an intervocalic sigma, and it popped up in the language when Attic Greek was looking forward to getting rid of all intervocalic sigmas. So then what we dropped out, and we just had bouloi, and as we know from our Omicron contract verbs, that's not stable. That's going to collapse. It's going to merge. And then we're going to get our kind of standard endings here. Sorry. I should think before I write. These are thematic verbs. We got omai here with the thematic omicron in our first person, but in our second person and third person, we get epsilons. That's exactly what happens. So we'd have bulamai, I want. Bulasai, that's a historical form, you want. Bulatai, he, she, it wants. This intervocalic sigma ain't going to stick around. We get epsilon plus alpha iota. This epsilon and the alpha merge into an eta, and then the iota goes subscript. So boule, that's exactly the form, historically coming from bulasai, but we've lost that, and it means whatever you want. Also, since we're in an on form, let me put that back. I've made yet another mistake, but I think these mistakes are helpful. I was writing omicron, epsilon, and epsilon here. That's exactly right for the indicative. But with this on, we should already have known. We're not talking indicative here, we're talking subjunctive. So all of these thematic vowels in the subjunctive, we're used to this, get lengthened. So the omicron becomes an omega, the epsilon becomes an eta, and the second epsilon becomes an eta. The same rules apply. Sigma drops out, the epsilon functionally now eats the alpha because it's so strong, and the iota becomes subscript. So this is subjunctive, second person, singular, present tense of boulomai. So of whatever you want. And why subjunctive? Why present here? Well, why subjunctive? Because it's on. It's a general kind of condition. Actually, as it will turn out to be future more vivid. But why subjunctive? Well, because it's that. Why present? Well, wanting is not something that's simple. It's not. You're not going to want something for an instantaneous moment. This is a verb that will take the present tense much more frequently than the aorist. So you will have a horse of whatever kind, of whatever sort you want. Future more vivid. That's our construction. So if this were a if you want, you will have a, if you want it, you will have a horse, we'd have something like on, if you want it, auton, you'll have a horse. Okay, that's great. But we have something different here that we're expressing. We want to be general about the kind of horse. Pick a horse, any horse, whatever kind you want. You will have a horse of whatever kind you want. Excellent. Last example, about time. Allow noimi an tauta tatzoa hopoi hoya te hudor heurain. Now I chose this one because it's going to be one of the more challenging sentences. These are the ones to do together online. So allow noimi. What verb is that coming from? You should know, but you can look it up. Allow no. This one's actually a little bit easier than some of them to find. What's this oimi ending? Well, that's going to be present, first person, singular, optative, plus on. And we've had, so far, no suggestion that this is part of a protasis. This seems to be one of these apodicises first. So if we were to venture to guess, we're going to have apodosis plus protasis later. And we've already read through the sentence, so we know that's coming. But if we have an optative plus on here, we're going to get a plus the optative here, and this is going to be a future, less vivid condition. Would, should. So, I should allow no. What's that? That's drive. Lead the animals. So drive the animals. This is cattle rustling. These, the animals. So remember that, what is tauta? Well, it's a demonstrative pronoun. It means this. It doesn't mean this here. It's not quite as strong as what would be tada in the accusative neuter. But it's much closer than akena, which would be the way of saying those animals. So I should drive these animals hopoi. This is our relative indefinite, and it's dealing not about person but place. So, to wherever. I should drive these animals to wherever. All right. Good. Hoya te. All right. Hoyas, this is a messy word, but we've seen it in this construction. Why does it have this acute accent here? Enclitic te. What form? That's an optative form of what verb? Because optative, because we needed that. Oh, sorry, we're in the protasis optative because we need it here. That's optative of Amy. You should know these. These are hard to keep track of, I know. And it does look like Amy. You could have guessed it. But what does hoyos temi mean? It means to be able to. So we've got this plural neuter, referring back to the zoa. Why is ae third person singular? It should be third person. We're talking about other things, not me or you or us or y'all. But it's singular because neuter verbs take singular verb. Neuter nouns, neuter subjects take singular verbs. So to wherever they, so should, would, wherever they would be able to find Helrain. What verb is that coming from? Helrisco. We haven't gotten to the perfect yet. That's next lesson. But this is where you get eureka from. I have found it. That's the perfect form. Helreka. I have found it. But note that there's a problem here. If you were to translate this into English, it really should be Helreka. Accent there. Eureka instead of Eureka, either the city in Northern California or the kind of phrase, but it is the verb for finding. So I should drive these animals to wherever they would be able to find, and then hudor, neuter, accusative, singular, water. So future less vivid, you might say these woulds and shoulds could be switched. I would drive these animals to wherever they should be able to find water. It doesn't really matter. The idea is future condition. We've got it, the kind of conditional aspect of this sentence comes from this word hopoi, to wherever. It's general, and it's less vivid. We're saying in the situation that, let's say you're in a well-watered place in the country and you're herding animals. And somebody asks you, well, what happens if there's a drought? And you say, well, a drought's not really that likely. But were there to be a drought, I should drive these animals to wherever they would be able to find water. That's the essence of this sentence. That's the essence of the future less vivid. A condition that's in the future might happen, might not. All right, so to recap very briefly, what have we seen in these lesson 30, example 132s? Again, we're continuing on with our conditional relatives. Here we have haughty separated to separate it from haughty, the conjunction. And then here we had a future, more vivid verb with a sentence with a future verb and the subjunctive here. The on appeared. Here we also had the on appear in a future, more vivid condition, just by chance. That's what we selected. But then we had this new verb, word, hapoion, whatever kind. Which does the exact sort of thing as haughty. That was whatever, this is whatever kind. The fundamentals of the sentence are the same, and again, a future indicative in the protasis. Here in our last example, we had a potasis followed by protasis, optative plus on, optative here in this kind of fixed phrase, which you all should try to remember, hoyos temi, and then hopoi, a relative adverb talking about direction. To where? Whither. Whither would be the ancient way to translate that, but this is how we should do it now. I should drive these animals to wherever they would be able to find water. All right, well that took forever. Hopefully the English to Greek will be a little bit faster in the next lesson. See you then.